Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Steel, starring Shaquille O'Neal, Judd Nelson, Annabeth Gish, Richard Roundtree, Irma P. Hall, Charles Napier, Ray J. Norwood, Kearney Keene, Gary Graham, and Hill Harper, and directed by Kenneth Johnson. Now I got a question. Why is this in the Superman series? Because Shaquille O'Neal has a Superman tattoo, and they bring it up in the movie once. Maybe I'll talk about it, maybe I won't. We'll see what happens. And I have seen a Shaquille O'Neal movie before called Kazam when I was a little kid. And I might have seen a few things from him here and there, sure, but let's just get into this movie because I don't know too much about it. This is one I'm the complete newbie on. The movie starts us off with a tank getting shot by John Henry Irons, played by Shaquille O'Neal, who to me is not that great of an actor, but he's a great athlete as they test it. And Nathaniel Burke, played by Judd Nelson, shoots the weapon and gets trialed and dismissed and crippled. Susan Sparks, played by Annabeth Gish. So John goes back home and shoots a hoop, which does prove my point that he's a great athlete, not a great actor, and this is poor acting in general, and this setup just isn't that interesting, and the performances are terrible. Burke gets out of control and hires Kevin Grievous, who's been in such movies as Underworld and I, Frankenstein, who's also a writer of comic books, and creates a weapon and causes a robbery that John, and at the right time, chases a criminal and saves a man from getting killed by a train. And all of this preposterous it's pretty preposterous as far as I'm concerned. Particularly since John climbs on a train and catches the criminal and he gets shot in the back, and this chase is shot terribly. John gets Susan to Los Angeles to help him create a suit from a car yard, and Uncle Joe, played by Richard Roundtree, who I've been seeing a lot of this year after Shaft. Meanwhile, Burke hires John's younger brother Martin to join the fire squad, and this conflict complicates and frustrates me. Like, what happens if Martin gets killed? And now I figured, what does this have to do with Superman? John has a tattoo of Superman, just like Shaq does, and Uncle John brings up a Shaft by saying, I like me a little Shaft. And I don't like the callbacks because they don't matter in this movie. John puts on a steel suit and fights crime, and all this is really funny. But the funniest part was the cop says, put your hands way up, and he escapes. And another cop says, well, it's way up. That was hysterical and brilliantly bad. And so far, it's not a great movie, but it's a guilty pleasure at best. Burke tries to find out who Steel is and wants to destroy him with their new weapon, and robbing a bank, and shoots him and knocks Steel down and shoots at them until the cops shows up, and Steel chases after the bad guys, and the cops chases Steel. And this is pretty campy, but hell, I'm having fun. The cops capture John for questioning, but people don't want to put him in jail because he's on the right side of the law, and gets bailed by the district attorney thanks to Uncle John, and they go after Burke, and he gets Sparky, aka Susan, hostage, and captures Steel while in a transaction with foreign mobsters, and Uncle John almost gets captured until his dog Lily comes and chews up the capturer and calls the cops, and they begin the shootout and a Mexican standoff between Steel and Burke, who's got Martin until Uncle Joe shoots his ass, and they got Burke on the corner and got him killed by his own tank, and gets all the bad guys and gets the bad guys under arrest and put in jail, and the army finally figures out who Steel really is, and they have a nice picnic, and I dug the climax / ending. It may be a guilty pleasure. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 5.0 out of 10. This is a middle of the road guilty pleasure. Even though Shaquille O'Neal is not a great actor, sure, I really enjoyed it as much as I did. There was problems, but is it a great movie? Absolutely not. But I had fun with it. I always really liked Richard Roundtree and his dog Lily, and it's fun to see him with a dog. So I will be back next week next time, with Superman Returns. And until next time, up and away.